All right, everyone, welcome back once again to this Beefcast presentation. Game number 2 from this round of 32 match here at the Buzz Open number 2. Joining me, as always, is going to be Snow. How you doing, Shay?
Doing fine.
Yeah,
Excited, on the edge of my seat to see how this game is going to go.
how'd you like that TVT last game?
It was good. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, so game number 2 out of this best of 3 series, Darkshadow, leading the series right here 1-0 with an absolutely beautiful 1-1-1 last game on Ohana. Let's get right into it. In the bottom right-hand corner, down 0-1 in this series. He's going to have to bring it back or risk dropping out of this tournament in the very first round. He is the blue Terran, JAJCO.
Facing off against the winner from the previous round, runner-up last competition, Darkshadow in the green trunks.
Yeah, so we'll see. Like I said last week when I saw a TVT between Darkshadow and Wendell, my other co-caster, Darkshadow showed a beautiful 1-1-1 all-in the first game. In the second game, he really took advantage of his opponent being worried about getting all-in and took a huge economic advantage. He played so greedy, it wasn't even funny. So we'll see what kind of mind games our Green Terran is going to be showing this time. Right now, SCV going to be making its way onto the map for our blue Terran. Going to be getting out there for a nice early scout. He doesn't want any of those shenanigans from last game about getting blocked, and his SCV is all the way across the map already, making sure that it knows that it is in fact going to be cross-map positions. And look at this. I think this SCV might even be looking for a proxy racks right here, kind of making its way into the third right now. One rack's down already at home, but what do you think this SCV is doing over here, Shay?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, he could be hanging out just to wait for Darkshadow's SCV, as we see moving past, so he can then move safely into the base without being tipped off. Or maybe he's just, like you said, worried about the proxy.
Yeah, and it actually looks like Darkshadow's SCV making its way down to the bottom left-hand base first. Unfortunate for him, he doesn't know that this is forced cross positions here on TSL Antigua Shipyard. So we will see him getting a rather late scout. It's actually even going to be blocked. So that's unfortunate for Darkshadow. He's not going to be able to get a read into his opponent's base whatsoever. With that early gas already taken here by our blue Terran, that's something that he'd like to know.
Absolutely. But you do see the CC going down here for Darkshadow. Building just a few Marines as well.
Yeah, just like last time, just going to be taking a big economic advantage here is Darkshadow, making sure that he's using all of the greed possible, and there it goes. Proxy Rack's going to be going down here in the third. So with that Proxy Racks down in the third and the racks at home and the gas, how do you think this is going to play out? What do you think's on the mind here for JAJCO?
Well, to be honest, I'm not totally sure. That Proxy Rack's kind of throwing me off. I would expect with the early gas you're going to see some Banshee play, but
yeah, I'm thinking it might be Proxy Reaper or Proxy Marauder, something along the lines of those Tech Lab units. But we'll see here. And with that CC,
he's tanked a lot of gas at this point. Almost he's getting in this 200 gas neighborhood.
Yeah, it's.
Mind you, only 2 SCVs are on the refinery.
Well, I'm really interested to see what happens here as this barracks is going to fall down here, and a Tech Lab does in fact go down. And so Darkshadow is playing relatively greedy, like I said, just operating off that one racks for right now. Bunker does in fact go down here, but with this Tech Lab going to be finishing up here, he's most likely going to be producing some Marauders. Marauders going to join the units from his barracks back home and be able to put on a little bit of pressure here. Yeah, and those Marauders are going to start coming out. So we'll see when those Marines do start making their way across the map right now. Great job from JAJCO, going to be seizing the middle Zelnaga tower, making sure that his opponent is not going to be aware of what's coming through. So it's really going to be up to Darkshadow to blindly prepare for this, or to have a money scan, really. Just to go down and see, hey, there's maybe something going on over there. But a supply block here for our blue Terran, and a pretty hard supply block at that. He hasn't even started a supply depot. There we go. A supply depot does finally come down here, but that's actually going to be a big hindrance.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be 1 to 2 less Marauders at its push timing.
Yeah, especially when you're working off, like you said, a timing. This is something that you want to make sure that your opponent has as few units as possible. And if you're losing out on 40 seconds of production because of that bunker, or excuse me, that supply depot, then that's really unfortunate. And it looks like there's actually a bunker going down at home for JAJCO. So it's kind of interesting. He's started researching STIM in his proxy location, which is a very long upgrade to begin with, and building a total of 4 Marauders queued up already in the proxy location. But with that bunker at home, it looks like he's not really going to be interested in pushing out right now. Money Scan does go down there.
Here.
Yeah, Scan does go down there for Darkshadow, as he is able to get a spot on what exactly his opponent is doing in his base. But that's going to make him a little bit more comfortable than it should, just because that Rax is in fact not in the base. That Rax is out there in the third.
You even have concussive shells now added to the stim queue. And it's always so unnerving when you're researching upgrades at proxy locations.
Complete.
Yeah, at any given time here, Darkshadow could make his way over to his third, see that, and kill everything, canceling both of those very important upgrades. But with 4 Marauders, a 5th going to be joining here relatively soon, the Marauders might actually be able to deflect a large amount of punishment here. Although Siege Tech is going to be about 75% of the way researched at this time for Darkshadow. So with that, he's going to be able to defend any kind of Marine Marauder aggression once that comes up here in about 10 or 15 seconds. But Marines and Marauders with Stim are going to be making their way up the hill right here. The first Marauder is going to be falling, a big Stim going to be going down, and Marines and Marauders going to be fighting right here. Marauders actually going to get the bunker down and start chasing some of these Marines, but without concussive shell finished at this time, SCV is going to be forced to pull off the line. But with that Siege Tank in a good position up there, those Marauders are going to be completely cleaned up. Bit of an ineffectual push there coming out of our blue Terran, just really sacrificing 5 of those Marauders for a handful of Marines in a bunker. The Siege Tank was just so critical in making sure that that did happen, and you gotta wonder, if he didn't hit that supply block about 2 minutes ago, would he have been able to hit about 30 seconds before that Siege Tank research did finish up and do a lot of economic damage to those SCVs? And I think the answer is yes.
As soon as that push finished, interesting that Darkshadow canceled 2 tech labs and started to build 2 reactors on his barracks here, and he also just now canceled the tech lab and started a reactor on his starport.
Wow, yeah, good pickup there. So he's going to be going for some medevacs out of his starport instead of some Vikings or some Ravens or Banshees. So he looks like he's going into a little bit more macro of a game right here, with those Marines going to be pumping out 4 at a time, and comfortable to research the all of his bio-related spells off of that single tech lab, as combat shield coming down. A Reaper?
Reaper from JAJCO.
Very cool. This is actually something that we saw out of Wendell a bunch last week. But yeah, nice job here using that Reaper. Wants to be able to get off a little bit of scouting information on his opponent, and the Reaper is very adept at that, making its way up those hills, checking out the base, maybe even doing a little bit of economic damage. So Wendell was using that as a expansion tactic. Reaper Expand, one of Mr. Bitter's favorites. So we'll see.
Darkshadow has an SCV now sitting in the middle of the map. On its way over to the zone, Logit actually popped in and noticed the proxy barracks.
Yeah. Back at home, both players just starting to amass tanks and Marines. It's worth noting that Siege mode is not researched right now for JAJCO. I wonder if that's actually something that he's completely forgotten at this point. With 4 Siege tanks on the map, you would think that that would be coming up relatively soon, unless he plans on running the old no Siege tank build, but not so common these days.
Tiny little engagement over there. As you see, the proxy has been completely mopped out.
Yeah, and it looks like
2 Reapers unfortunately were up and they were obliterated.
Darkshadow in a pretty substantial economic lead right now, working off of 55 SCVs to his opponent's 39, with double orbital up and running. He's looking in a brilliant economic position right now off of those 3 racks and a factory and a starport. Going to be plopping down a 3rd base relatively soon here, if I know Darkshadow at all. Loading up into these medevacs, total of 4 tanks and 16 Marines. Going to be making their way out onto the field possibly.
Oh, 4 barracks going down.
Yeah, 4 more barracks going to be coming down here for our green Terran. He's really going to be powering up to hit a big timing here. And look at that. The Ghost Academy is now starting to research both Cloak and Nuke. So this could certainly be fun. JAJCO, knowing that he's pretty far behind right now, needing to take some risky strats, and the way that he's going to go about that is some nuke play reminiscent of our old friend TLO. We'll see if this does end up making a difference, but right now we do have a 5 medevac drop. That's even 6 medevacs going to be making their way down here at the bottom left-hand corner of the map. No turrets currently in place, and the Ghost Lab that is researching is actually directly in the path of these units. One Stim Marine going to be making its way out for JAJCO to the Zelnaga Watchtower as he wants to be able to see what's going on. Both players dropping their 3rd command centers right now, and the medevacs are going to be making their way into the base here. We'll see how JAJCO reacts. And right now, all the units are completely out of position. The tanks completely out of the position, and all the tanks here from Darkshadow do get sieged up. And this is just absolutely terrible for JAJCO. A beautiful position here from Darkshadow, and JAJCO, GG's. Oh man, Darkshadow, just looking absolutely brilliant there with some absolutely great decision making, knowing that his opponent is turtled up pretty hard in the front, wants to hit from the side, and getting in there before that nuke play comes into effect. Brilliant game out of Darkshadow. Any closing words here, Shay?
And just beside a little bit of indecision, a little bit of mixed signals going on over on JAJCO's side. He was getting all sorts of different upgrades, different units, nothing really concert attack with Marauders, really left his Marines back in the base. And at the end, Darkshadow just rolls in and drops some tanks in the middle of the streets.
Yeah, dropping tanks in the middle of your opponent's base. Always an effective strategy. But thank you very much for watching. I've been your casting host of Beef. Joining me was Snow. We are done with this round of 32 series. Moving on to a new one. Don't know if it's going to be in the round of 32 or the round of 16, but we will be back soon. We'll catch you next game.